All right. Welcome back to the Eminence in a Shadow anime review, episode number, I believe this is episode number 5. We're here discussing episodes 11 and 12 for the series. One thing I forgot to mention is that last episode, episode 10, which, yes, I know it's been a week, but I finally got back to this. Finally, after 8 days at the last episode I did. So, the fact that Epsilon, last episode, where she has this thing where, like, every time you see her, her breasts, like, the move. The animator is obsessed with that, and they kind of continue here in this two-part. So, so I forgot to mention the last episode, so I know that was a week ago, but I remembered it basically right after that. So, episode 11 starts out with Clyde just like saying how much he enjoys certain things, but one thing he enjoys a hot spring, gets in, and Princess Alexia is right there, and she's butt naked. I'm surprised she doesn't scream at the fact, and of course, he is like not looking at her at all. He's like sitting cross-legged, sitting eyes closed. He can hear exactly everything she says. Like, oh, why don't you join the Crimson Knights? Like, nah, I'll sign up. No, don't need to. And it's like, and we got there. The Holy Sword, and they mentioned about Alpha, and also the fact, oh yeah, this is Excalibur. He's, oh, that's a worm. And then he stands up, and then she looks at his dick. Yes, seriously. And then he leaves, wipes his groin in a very over-the-top fashion, and walks right out of the hot area. And that was the opening scene of the episode. Also, they mentioned about the Goddess Trial, which they have that here. They do, I think I remember correctly, like, they do mention, like, this, it may happen in the later episodes, but, yeah, the way this one ends is weird. Oh my gosh. I read the ending of book 2, and it has a weird ending. I'll get to that when I get to the episode. So, right afterwards, we have the Goddess Trial at this stadium. Like, I'll have these warriors. And the warriors there are just basically nobody. And then, like, somehow Clyde is entered into this competition. Also, you have Alexia, her sister, and Beta, all sitting on the same row. Beta, of course, is in her alternate identity of being the novelist. And Alexia is jealous of her chest size. I'm like, standard anime 101. Women anime like poking fun of each other for their chest size. Women with a smaller chest are jealous of women with bigger chests than they are. And from what I can tell, her chest is a little bigger. Not by much, all because she's jealous. Her sister says nothing about it whatsoever. And Alexia is basically like just trying to make her own breast bigger. I'm like, okay. And the fact these two, when they stand up, and of course you have Alexia being jealous, and of course she steps on her foot. And then, like, okay, then we have Shadow participate in the competition because, well, Clyde just have a substitute. Shadow. And then somehow he summons Amora the Calamity Witch. Yes, who apparently was one of the most powerfulest witches and one of the most dangerous ones in the history of this world. Then, of course, he battles her and kind of defeats her, but doesn't kill her because she says it later on. Don't worry about that. And then, like, then the area around where the protection gets shattered. Then he leaves. And then a door pops up where his area where he is in. And it just follows him. And eventually he walks through. And then he meets up with Aurora. And she is tied in a straitjacket, thinking, wait, since when has a medieval society got a straitjacket? Who knows? So then, of course, Shadow Garden shows up there. And the princesses, along with, of course, the novelist, actually, is Beta, and the Archbishop, who was an acting Archbishop because the previous one was killed. And, of course, he would not allow a audit. Like, nah, not necessary. We're just mourning over basic Archbishops. Like, yeah, you're covering your rear end, dude. So then they go in with him, of course, into, I'm surprised they don't actually tie him up, instead of basically breaking his arm. And then it gets weird. So apparently the sanctuary is a futuristic building. Like with a big metal tunnel. I'm like, this seems like modern day. And it turns out, though, the Code Diablos are scientists. as in like modern day scientists with key cards. I'm like, what? It's like so baffling. So Aurora, her thing is like, okay, so he meets up with her, frees her, and sees her briefly naked, doesn't say anything, and then he just puts on clothes and walks out. And of course, the thing is, they can't use magic, so because there's only in the magic cord, and then of course they go to the area of memory, slaps the younger version of herself, and that breaks the memory. And that's it for basically for Shadow for this whole two-parter. Meanwhile, the rest of Shadow Garden comes across an area where a bunch of scientists, where they explain that the abilities of Olivier, which what they mentioned was actually previously supposedly a guy, but actually a woman. And it's pointed out that Alpha has a striking resemblance to Olivia. Are these two related? Possibly, but not going to that yet. So, then of course they explain about the braids Diablos, how she got her powers, the fact that she actually was able to survive all the children who were experimented on, which includes some demi-humans as well. And then of course we have this really, really weird scene where like she takes an army to battle the demon Diablos, chops off many parts of his body, somehow keeps growing back, and then the cult of Diablos just has her scientists use ancient artifacts, okay, to imprison the arm and extract salesmen to create the braids Diablos, basically these pills. They refer to as the droplet, the Shadow God first was the droplets of Diablos are called the braids. And they see a younger version of the Archbishop who was a scientist. And like, oh, maybe a side effect is that he's bald. No. He reveals the reason why he's like that because apparently the higher ups drove freaking nuts. So the whole thing is over immortality. Yep, that's the whole point of Call of Diablo is to create these braids. And they also mentioned apparently you only receive 12 per year. And there are 12 members of the Knights of Rounds. And in terms of the Archbishop is one of those rounds. The 11th seat. And then of course Delta, I think it's Delta, because she proceeds to stab him. By the way, before this, she gets I think it's Epsilon basically gets her fake breast chopped up by an assassin. And then she just uses the slime to put those things back on. Kills the assassin. And he's like, did you see that? And he's like, I was like, no. The Air Girls did, but she's not gonna kill Beta because they're basically the same organization. And the Princess is the only reason why they don't get killed by Shadow Garden. Well, mainly the reason why because they're not that evil. They're not going to kill people who are like. So what I heard of regular research online about the Shadow Garden is that they would not kill innocent people, and they know that they're very important. So they're being left. If someone's evil, they'll kill them. But if someone's important, like they are, they will not harm them that much. So, yeah, and then of course he gets stabbed, and of course he's like, Delta, what do you tell about killing people? He's like, sorry. And one of us told to make sure the person is dead, and he transforms, he gets this sort of suit, and then the child gets separated, and then the episode ends, he's about to confront Alpha and the princesses and Beta. And that's pretty much it for these two episodes. Really good. Thoroughly enjoyable here. Yes, now, so far, I have exactly about, with these two episodes watched, I have 8 more to go. And then, not only will I be done with the adaptation that they did for Book 2, but I'll be done with Season 1. And by far, this is the first time in a while I come across this, where for a brand new season, now normally the last season, now there have been some seasons I've watched where it adapted from a light novel for its first season, and the season is quite lengthy. The only seasons that's been like that so far that I can think of, mostly put the ones I've covered that I can think of, are mostly based upon manga. Not usually light novels. The only ones I can think of are like that have been just ReZero and The Rising of the Shield Hero. That's been pretty much it. Those two are the only ones I can think of that are light novel adaptations that actually had a full season, not like take a break, whatever. It's just, you could say those two. I can probably throw in Michiko Tensei in there too as well. How Real Super became a handful of series, not a lot of them per se. because a lot of the series I come across that are based on light novels usually have their seasons last 12 episodes, not usually 20. The 20 episode mark is something I don't usually come across very often. Not really. The most I usually give for a season for an anime, like, a lot of the time tends to be about 12, 13 episodes. This one is 20, and there are some seasons that tend to be either 23 or about 26 episodes. 26 is usually the highest I come across. That's not one of the big anime. If it's not one of the big anime, the seasons don't usually last more than a year. Yep. But, good. So, that's good. Pretty much a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'm going back to Eminence with Shadow. And I'll probably just do just one more video after this. And I might call it and I probably finish up the rest tomorrow. And now, as soon as this season is finished, it's back to Spaceship Cider. Immediately right afterwards. Okay? Next video. Okay? Bye.